All right.
Hello.
How you guys doing?
Going well.
It's going good over here as
Just-
well.
Still, just getting things set up. I know I just had 5 minutes, but I realized like 30 seconds before we went on, like, oh, hang on, I need to have a lot of windows open and arranged in a particular way. So, yeah, I am good to go. And we have lots of returning people in the chat. This is very exciting.
Yeah, it's
great.
always
Hey,
good.
everyone.
Ready for round 3.
That's right. Yeah. This is becoming a proper recurring thing. So I hope I hope it's a decent time for everyone and they're not just tuning in even though it's like, 3 a.m. in the morning. Whereabouts in the world is I know you've probably people that have tuned in multiple times have already told me, but my memory isn't good enough to remember exactly where you're all from. So we have Inna's coming in from Perth.
Every time.
Excellent.
Perth.
Another,
Nice.
yeah.
He's
you've been
managed to catch
stream.
every stream.
Yeah, that's very cool. Sorry, I'm just trying to crank this light down because it's blinding me, and I'm trying to color match my face with you two. There we go. We have Afsa. Whereabouts are you coming? Oh, we've already been answered.
Maldives,
watching
nice.
from Maldives. Awesome. Very, very cool. And apparently it is midnight in Springfield, where The Simpsons is shot, and 10 p.m.
California.
in California.
Nice.
Well, we have a winner, though, Toronto. Joshua.
1 a.m., the most inappropriate time so far. What time is it in India at the moment? You got Texas
St.
as well.
Louis.
Damn. This is a worldwide stream.
Yeah, we got
How
a
great is the
number of
internet?
people from the States.
Yeah. I'm sorry we're not doing this at an appropriate time for you. It's very rude of us. Myself and Alaister, we're in Melbourne, Australia, if this is your first time tuning in. And so, yeah, it's a very reasonable 3 p.m. or about 10 past 3 Friday afternoon, which is a very reasonable time to be having happy hour. And Tyler, where are you joining us
Cheers,
from?
everyone.
I'm tuning in from Tokyo. So it is 2 p.m. over here for me. This is great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Looks like I'm by myself today on the happy hour.
I have a little bit of a cold. Not that I condone working when you're sick and pushing yourself through, but I have other sick people in the house that don't let me rest if I am in there. So this is more rest doing the stream right now. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with my water this week and stay hydrated.
Awesome. Well, I don't know if maybe Tyler, I think you did the recap last week, John. Tyler, do you want to see if you can remember what we did last week?
Let's see. So last week so this whole series has been creating a real-time chat app using Next.js and Supabase. And last time we got pretty close. So we pretty much build this a nice chat thread UI as well as the actual business logic behind it. So what you see in the screen is, there's a chat thread as well as a text box, and you can enter something in the text box, hit return, and it'll actually send it over to Supabase. And with the real-time capability, we're able to fetch that data on real time. And therefore you see the nice thread. And I think someone also posted something in real time right now. If you could go back to the page.
Sorry.
I saw a new message coming in. Oh, Alaister, okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And John is impersonating Thor.
Oh, yeah, right. Sorry. I completely forgot. That just went completely over my head. I am Thor. Here, my hammer. There you go.
And if anyone wants to hop into this chat app that we named it Happy Chat, you can go to happy-chat.vercel.app. So it's actually live on Vercel, and you can. So the, I guess, login flow, sign up flow right now is not pretty. You would have to go to happychat.vercel.app / I believe register first, right? And go there.
Yeah.
Enter your email address, register, I guess email, password, and username, and register. Now, once you hit this register button, you would have to go open your open your email and click the confirmation link, and then go back to the login page. I shouldn't have to. I feel like I shouldn't explain this flow because we're gonna fix that flow today, right? But right now the login flow is kind of all over the place. But yeah, once you hit that confirmation, you can go back to the /login page to log in using your email and password, and then you should be able to come back to this home page and start chatting with people. Now, yeah.
Is
think-
an excellent description.
If you want to, if this is your first time tuning in and you want to see us build up to this point, I think there's 2 previous streams you can watch. Maybe put them on 2 times speed, but this one is where things get serious. I think today's stream is going to be a good one. We're going to be adding all sorts of neat features, namely chat rooms, private messaging, that sort of thing, or at least we're going to try to. We've only got 2 hours, so we'll see how quickly we can go. But yeah, it's going to be a good one. I think the first thing, though, we should fix is this message not scrolling down whenever you get a new message, because it's quite annoying.
So, yeah, when I send a message, you'll see I'll be looking at this going, well, where's my message gone? I can see a little bit of blue here that's popped up, which is kind of strange. Oh, look, if I scroll down, there's the thing I actually wrote. And so I think Alaister has a fix for us if we would like to automatically scroll every time there's a new message.
Maybe we can give it a go. An untested fix. We can certainly try.
Let's do it.
So it's the kind of typical fix you'd find on Stack Overflow or similar websites, but we're basically we have a scroll container, and it's of a larger height than the screen. And whenever we want a new message to come on, we want to move the scroll container to the bottom of that message. So the easiest way to do that is by actually setting the scroll top property on the container equal to the container's height. So what that will do is basically force the container to go all the way down to the bottom by scrolling it up. So we can give that a go, maybe just in our real-time handler whenever a new message comes through. Although I think we'll have to set up a ref on our scroll container first.
Okay, I know how to do that part. So if we bring in useRef, we can create a new reference, which is going to be our, I guess, messages ref, and that can be create a new ref by calling useRef. You probably want me to do this properly, don't you?
Yeah.
A useRef of a particular type, which is going to be UL. It's going to be some kind of
HTML div element or something like that.
HTML.
UL. I think HTML is all caps.
Look at that. Now,
maybe let's find out.
Yeah. And so now it can only be.
It'll tell us if there's an error once we put the ref on. So, oh no, it is a UL. Oh no, it isn't. It's a div. That's right. That was Tyler's fix last week because we couldn't have the flex being a scroll container. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So if you hover the ref, it will tell us what TypeScript is being unhappy for.
Is not assignable to type.
Oh, maybe we just need to put a default value of null in the ref.
Oh, right, of course. Back up here.
Yep. Oh, magic.
Look at that.
Nice.
I know.
And now we probably won't have random errors that we need to track down and work out why they're not working. Awesome. So now we have a ref on that container. And so again, that's the container that kind of wraps this list of different messages, which is each one of these is a separate LI. And so after we do our subscription, so this is just calling get data again. So we could actually put it in here because we probably want it to happen the first time we load as well. because the first time we load that data, it would start at the top of the container. So what I'm saying is if we refresh on this page, we'll see that it loads all the messages, but I'm still sitting all the way at the top. Whereas I feel like there's a lot more messages than there used to be here.
I think there's some very long messages. I was thinking about adding a message length
Constraint
on there, but I don't think it will be as useful once we've got private rooms happening, because you'll probably just be inviting people to the rooms.
And you know who the spammer is.
Well, I'd have to scroll for a long time to work out who it is. I think it might be Tyler.
Take a guess.
I'm going with Tyler or Thor. Maybe
it's
Thor.
Not hint. It's not me.
Awesome. So so when we're actually fetching the data, that's when we probably want to scroll that container. And so when we're about to set our messages, so we've got all of our data back from Supabase. This is where we want to do it, right?
Correct. We want to actually re-render with the new height first. So that's why we do it after the set messages. If we did it before, we'd have the previous height.
Does this happen straight away, though?
I believe it does.
Okay. This is synchronous. All right. Well, I mean, we'll find out very quickly, very soon. So we want to check if we have a current. Then
we'll have to do an if, I think, because we're doing an assignment. So we'll just have to wrap the whole thing in a message ref. If, that's the ticket.
Then we would want to say messages ref dot current, and then were you saying we can set the scroll directly on this element?
Scroll top.
Scroll top.
And then we set it equal to its scroll height.
Dot current dot scroll height. Seems too easy.
I know it does. So I'm kind of freaking out now. It does seem a bit easy.
Well, I guess if we're scrolled anywhere and we refresh, this should go and get it. And look, we've scrolled down to the bottom. And now if I type a new message, look at that. And can someone else type a new message so we know this isn't just happening?
Magic.
Look at that. That is magic. Wow.
Wow.
That is so cool.
So the only thing is, what if we're reading a message further up in the chat and then...
Oh, that's true.
I think
we don't need to handle every single use case.
So are we just going to leave it? I think it's only like one line of code, though.
Okay, yeah. I mean, anything that's simple, let's get it as good as possible.
We only want to auto scroll if we're already at the bottom, right? Yeah. So if our scroll height is already equal to the scroll top or the other way around, don't think it matters.
What about the first time you load it, though?
I don't know. Maybe it's adding too many edge cases.
Just have a giant if statement in our component that just renders a different component.
Building chat app is pretty complicated, huh?
I reckon this is great. And if we scroll up and someone sends a message, takes you down to the bottom, that's good. Then you know that there's a new message there.
There's no notifications. That's a good point. No. So maybe it isn't good that it just auto scrolls here.
Yeah. Otherwise, how would you know? It's a feature, not a bug.
It's a feature.
But I mean, if anyone is watching and wants to implement that, very welcome to implement in ours or on your own. That would just be an awesome extension to do. Feel free to clone the GitHub repo and
where is that GitHub repo, John?
The GitHub repo. Good call. Happy chat. And
you can see that I cloned it earlier.
Yeah. So this is the latest version, which we pushed up last week, and we'll obviously push up a new one at the end of this when Alaister reminds me when I forget at the end of this stream.
I don't know. I'll probably forget as well.
Someone in the chat needs to. In fact, if you, at the end of the stream, if you could remember to just send us a message in Happy Chat, and we will all be monitoring Happy Chat very, very closely every day, probably, because this is just obviously the next big thing.
Cool. Because of the color scheme, clearly. That's
absolutely,
why
yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I did open it. I did open Happy Chat during the weekend last week. Just take a look if there was any new message or something.
Well, Alaister and I were actually catching up with, he may be watching right now, but Johnny from Supabase earlier today, actually Tyler as well, we were all chatting with Johnny, and he did, I don't think he realized that this was a joke, and he kind of complimented the UI for being different to other UIs. And so,
I think it's great, John. It's just, it's next level.
Yeah.
It really is something else, isn't it?
Classic.
All right, cool. So what do we want to implement next? So we have, we've got our scroll working. Do we want to jump into the main topic of today?
I think we should just go for it. It's going to be fun.
So today we're going to be implementing private rooms. So the ability to have multiple people in a private room. And I did title this Private Rooms and Direct Messages, but I guess a private room and a direct message are the same thing, right? It's just whether it's 2 people or whether it's more than 2 people. Is that right? Is that how we're thinking about this?
I think that is how I'm thinking about it, certainly.
Cool.
Yeah, like that.
Okay, so I'm assuming there would be someone who's kind of like the owner of the chat, so the person who created the chat, and then they would be able to invite one or many other people to join. Is that right?
Yep. I'm calling it admins in the schema. If you can be a room admin.
Admins. That's very nice.
Yeah, because the schema, it's a kind of, we've only got a couple of hours here today, but a lot of exercises can be left up to the reader if they want to extend it. The schema I've kind of designed, or we will design live on stream. I think we'll try to make it as extensible as possible for future use cases. So we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it'd be cool at the end of this, actually. If we remember, or someone reminds us by sending us a message in Happy Chat, we should definitely update the GitHub repo, like the README, with a few extension ideas. Because I feel like this would be an awesome product that kind of gets you to a certain point with Supabase where you're using all these different things, but then that is applicable to all kinds of different situations. So you could really take this and build a whole bunch of cool stuff. In your own chat, you could call it sad chat if you want. Just make a really
change the colors.
Yeah, the color schemes can all just be like demure, like just grays, and it'd be dark mode, I guess. That's the sad.
Or Patrick in chat could build a pink chat with
pink chat. Ooh,
needs more pink.
It is controversial. I feel like we're already nailing that color scheme. Might have lawyers knocking at your door for that one. I have actually completely been ignoring the chat. It was behind another window. So there is Spectrum 3900 is saying that they are a Next.js user. So that's, I can explain with the rest of the question. Is Next.js pretty similar? So Next.js is, to my understanding, very similar to Next.js, the main difference being that one is built on Vue and the other one is built on React. But Tyler, do you have some experience with Vue? No?
I don't have any experience using Vue or Next.js before.
Yeah. So Next.js, the benefits that Next.js give you over just a regular React app is some kind of server-side magic. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but the main part is giving you sort of these serverless functions where you can get a little bit of server logic, but kind of sprinkled throughout your application. So you don't need to think about managing a server separate from your web application. And I believe Next.js does a similar thing, but with Vue rather than React.
Yeah. And I think Supabase JS does work fine with Vue. There might be some bindings out there that make it even easier to use, but I'm not actually sure off the top of my head. But you can just use the normal JavaScript one, at least, the very least.
That's the best one.
Patrick is giving us some SQL love here. 20+ year dev on SQL. I'm gonna have to remember what the real something database management system.
Relational database management
Relational.
system. Yeah. I always forget it as well. Yeah.
And I just lost my job at Supabase. There we go. It's been great. If you guys could finish off the stream, I'll see myself out.
Well, no, we're going to be doing some cool SQL stuff today with these rooms, more triggers and functions and all sorts. We're going to be at RLS. We're going to be getting into it.
It'll be fun.
And one of the really cool things for anyone who isn't SQL familiar and is coming from that NoSQL world or that kind of document database side of things, Postgres gives you a JSON-B table and JSON or a JSON-B data type for columns, which allows you to just store a big blob of data if you do want to write your applications in more of a kind of NoSQL document database kind of way. But yeah, we'll definitely be building pretty strict schema-driven stuff, strong types, even TypeScript on the front end, types all over. And we have Spectrum saying they're using Supabase already. That's awesome. And yeah, need to learn the syntax. Well, watching these streams is definitely going to help you with that, because we'll probably run into a lot of problems and do some pretty creative stuff. So yeah, you're in the right place. Is ref like vbind? I think you're asking the wrong people.
Well, no, I can answer that one probably. Ref is just a way to kind of jump outside of the React rendering system and get access directly to the underlying HTML element. So that's why we can set the scroll height and that sort of thing. So it is different to vbind in that I think vbind is probably similar to a React use state, where you have your set state handler, which then updates the state, whereas Vue is two-way binding, so you just have to set the vbind and you're done. But yeah, so ref's just kind of a way to get outside of the React rendering system. Back down
it is
to
kind of coming back to me. I do remember this. The Vue stuff, the vbind stuff. Yes, I do remember the multi-directional data binding. But yes, the yeah, I guess I can just give you an example in the console. If we go back over to our application, and then I guess just here we can console log out our messages ref. And then here, well, if we scroll up a little bit, or maybe if we refresh.
Might want to zoom in a touch. Might make it easier. And also, I think the message on the screen is blocking your console a little bit.
So it is. There we go. Yeah, so on the first render of our page, messages ref is set to an object with current set to null. And so this is why we're doing that check to see whether we actually have a messages ref.current. So this is just checking that that .current is set to something. It's not set to null. And that's when we want to actually do something. So that's when we want to do the scrolling. And then, yeah, if we scroll down a little bit further, after it's actually set the messages ref to something, you can see that current is now set to, something.
Actual div.
HTML element.
Yeah. And so then we have access to all of those underlying HTML DOM properties that exist on that element. Cool.
Sweet.
Okay.
And yeah, lots more in the chat. We've got, it's 1:20 p.m. in Malaysia. Awesome. And we've got Yoganeth, who I believe joined us in one of the other streams.
Yeah. Malaysia.
Nice try. Luckily, React saves us from that sort of thing, because unless you do dangerously set HTML, whatever it's called, it will just pass everything as a string. But
I was looking for what you were referring to in the chat to try and highlight it, and I realized it's not in our chat. It's
a better chat.
The best chat. Yeah, maybe we need to write
safe from XSS.
Yeah, we need to write a StreamYard plugin that can stream our happy chat messages through to the chat that we have here. Awesome. Whoa, that's just mean.
Okay.
But yes, Happy Chat is already way better than this chat. Happy Chat is the best chat.
Feel the love.
It's the people's chat. All right. What were we doing?
Okay.
Rooms, I think.
Rooms. Yes. All right, cool. We're ready to jump into creating a room. So let's open up our project. And we'll find in my insane number of projects one called Happy Chat. And currently our schema is pretty simple. And so it's just a collection of profiles. So each time someone signs in, we've had a lot of people sign in. That's awesome. Yeah, that's
Next
great.
big app,
Nice,
John. I'm
nice.
telling you.
Yeah, it is. Totally is. And then we have messages, which is just an individual message that one of those people can send. So yes, we've got lots of messages, and then each of those messages is connected to a particular profile. So basically, the person who sent it. So where do we want to start?
Should we start by adding constraints in the length of the messages before
Well, no, like
before we do anything?
Well, because we're going to private rooms, I think it won't be as much of an
Okay, right.
issue. But
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
we'll be spending quite a lot of time in SQL land now because we have to set up a couple of
Right.
tables and all sorts.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'm sure Koppel would really appreciate us reducing the amount of. But I mean, it's not going to make that big a difference, right?
Well, it's just a shout out to the Supabase free tier and how generous it is,
That's
right?
true.
Yeah.
That's
like-
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you really like Supabase and then you go and exploit our friendly happy chat, then the free tier might get a little less generous because we need to cover the running costs of the happy chat app that's just completely taken over the world. Speaking of which, we
Yeah.
did hint at in the last I believe in the last stream we hinted that we'd be doing an in-person stream with our CEO Koppel, which we are obviously not. And so yeah, Koppel was too unwell to fly, and so he was going to come fly to Australia and see us, but he's got a cold, so he's coming next week instead. So we
Another time.
yeah, another time, and then Alaister and I were going to catch up, and now I've got a cold, and so we're not. We're being responsible. We're all quarantining safely in StreamYard.
Over the internet.
Yeah, over the internet, the
Nice,
responsible way.
But
All right,
yeah,
cool. So what are we doing now?
Yeah. Let's just create a rooms table. That seems like the next logical step, right?
Cool. So we're going to have rooms. We can enable RLS by default, right? We know how to write a
Certainly
policy
can.
now.
Yes, please. And then I'd love the ID type to be a UUID again, just because, UUIDs are where it's at, or dates
They are
apparently. And then
definitely
Give it a
if you
default
remember
value.
from,
professional.
sorry,
They look a lot more professional.
well remembered.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I'm assuming, oh no, we're not going to have content. We're going to have a name, I guess.
Yeah.
Name
Well,
of our room.
I think we'll leave it as an optional name, so just as a text type. But if you leave it as nullable, because sometimes you might want to name, sometimes you might not want to name for your chat. We'll see. But maybe you can take the not null or the is null constraint off the created at, because it's a default value, so it's handy to have always there. It doesn't really matter because it is always created, but yeah.
Good call. Ooh, we've got more chat. We've got. Oh yeah, we totally should have called it super chat. That was a missed
Well, I think
opportunity.
we were going to, and
consider
then
it, but-
someone suggested happy chat.
Happy
And-
chat was obviously better, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
The color
it is.
scheme was born.
And we have Swix joining us. Yeah, welcome to the
What's
chat.
up, Swix?
Welcome.
Is it a reasonable time for you? I'm assuming you're still in Singapore, maybe, or now that things have opened up, maybe you've gone back to the US. And Patrick is saying, don't cluster on that UUID though.
We're not doing any clustering or anything, I don't think so. We'll be right. Yeah.
It's definitely a deeper joke than my SQL knowledge goes at the moment.
I didn't get it
but-
either. Do you want to explain it, Alaister?
I think it's to do with like running multiple instances of Postgres, and if you want, when you do a read, you want it to go to just one instance. So if you have it, if you have a cluster of Postgres instances and you're using UIDs, your records kind of get spread out randomly over them. So when you read from that cluster, it has to go across all the different replicas. So you don't want to. You generally want to cluster by something same that you're going to read from one group. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, please, Patrick.
Awesome. And we have Samapit saying hello. We're about to tuning in from. And Swix is saying Singapore for a few weeks and then sleeping right now. Should be sleeping right now. Yes, you definitely should. Don't miss out on sleep unless you want to see the next big thing that Silicon Valley is going to be talking all about, which is Happy Chat, definitely. And we've got an explanation here from Patrick.
Clarification, yeah.
No clustered index on UUID causes pages to split and destroy performance. Well, there you go. That sounds like the kind of problem that Supabase can take care of for me while I focus on building my application. We have a question, maybe not related, but always wondering, how would you approach a full stack project with Supabase and Prisma? Would you use Supabase JS for some parts and Supabase JS for other bits? So yeah, this is a really good question, actually, because part of what Supabase does is that kind of ORM layer. In Supabase JS, you can write your queries that get translated into calls for Postgres. And what Prisma does is it basically takes care of that translation for you. So you can definitely use Prisma with Supabase. We give you a connection string in the settings where you can plug that into Prisma. And then just use 100% Prisma, but a hosted database with Supabase. And the really cool thing about that is that it doesn't, auth can get complicated because I think currently Prisma maybe doesn't support multi-schema stuff, which is required for Supabase auth. But the cool thing is it doesn't block you from using things like realtime. So you could still use Supabase JS to subscribe to real-time events, I believe, in your database, but use Prisma for writing all of your query logic. So yeah, excellent question. And we've got Deco saying, hi. All right.
Hi, Deco. Okay, let's get to it.
So we have a name, text. We're going to leave it as possibly nullable. Is there anything else we need on our rooms?
Let's go. Let's hit the big green button.
Ooh, that's it. It's done. Feature complete.
Yeah, pretty simple. But the rooms aren't really where the fun's happening. It's more in this what I think I'm going to call the room participants table, which essentially is a join table on what's everyone's favorite meal.
Well, I guess we are waiting for this table to be created. So, what is everyone's favorite meal?
Mine's usually pasta, like a tomato pasta. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I love Italian food.
I'm gonna have chicken soup for dinner to help with my cold symptoms. Oh man, this is taking a long time to create this.
I think maybe give it a refresh.
All right.
It seems to be taking unusually long.
So sorry, Alaister, I think I cut you off. Where is the fun and the magic happening?
On the room participants table, which essentially is a join table, which we're going to map our profiles into rooms.
Awesome.
So let's just jump into creating that one now.
Okay. Did you say room participant?
I'm going to go plural. Room participants.
Rooms.
No, what you can call it whatever you like, really, but just room participants, because it's in my mind it's the people that are participating in a given room.
Makes sense.
Good call. And I'll say this is a table joining profiles and rooms.
Nice.
Thor likes it when I fill in my descriptions, even when he's not
always
here. I feel
RLS.
like I need to. Or always RLS. And if you get stuck, go and watch the RLS video on the Supabase YouTube channel, because yes, RLS is an excellent way to do authorization. We probably don't want created at to be nullable again. We probably want this to be a UUID, and we probably want this.
Well, you could do that, John, but I think we're going to get a little fancy here just because we can.
Absolutely.
And we're going to use a composite primary key. So we'll write it out and then I'll explain, why I'm thinking we'll use it. But instead of calling the first one ID, do you want to call it room ID and link it up to the rooms table? Perfect. And then created at will change that to profile ID, and we'll link that up to the profiles table.
Whoops. This is definitely taking me back to my university days. I remember Composite. I remember when I was studying databases, university subjects tend to be a little bit, slightly out of date maybe from what industry is doing. But I remember this wasn't that long ago. This was probably only 6 years ago or something. And they were saying that you must use composite keys because you don't want to waste the space on having another integer ID. And I was like, I think we're a bit past that. I don't think that's the kind of performance optimizations we need to be making currently.
So if you check the primary key checkbox next to that one as well, so you've got 2 check marks, you can see composite primary key selected.
Nice.
And the reason I've got it this way is because it saves us having to set up another unique constraint. So there is some savings there as well. So it's, you're saving the space on the extra ID, and you're also saving space on on another index. But that's not really why I do it. The reason I do it is just because I don't have to manage an extra ID. All the information's there, so it's just for simplicity, I'd say.
Nice.
And then I don't know why I made you delete that created at column, because I probably actually did want that. So
I was gonna ask, created at, which is a time. Is that right, or is it with a time?
Timestamp TZ. I think.
Timestamp TZ.
TZ stands for time zone, right?
Yep, I think so.
All right.
Nice.
And then we don't want that to be a primary key, and we don't want that to be nullable.
All right. And then I think, let's see. I think that will do us for now.
Cool. And while we're waiting for that to create, Sergi is asking, is there any way to export schema and data from this beautiful dashboard itself, like the UI builder, but sometimes create alter tables from SQL, as it is easier to keep schema up to date?
Yep. There is a brilliant way to do it, and that's just use standard Postgres. So just go and Google PG dump and PG restore, and it's a really easy to use CLI tool, and you can select either to export all the data or just the schema, or the schema and the data. It's really nice. And because Supabase is just Postgres, it works no problem. You just provide your connection string and you're off to the races.
And Hijabi Coder is saying this sounds like a relational database management system.
You remembered.
I did it. I nailed it.
Nice.
RDMS. Yes, we thought this was the perfect opportunity to kind of just step through how we would actually build something. And there's so much just random database knowledge that we can share along the way. So I think that's one of the real benefits of especially having Alaister here.
Mainly Alaister showing people. Yeah, we're learning along with all of you.
Definitely. All right, cool. So we have our intersection table. Oh, is it called an intersection table?
You're actually asking me the wrong questions.
Well, I'll tell you. This is called an intersection table because
Nice.
it intersects two tables. And so wait, is it?
Great.
Is this? No, this isn't. Yeah, this is it intersecting too many tables? So we're having one instance of a participant for a room. I'm going to go with that. We're joining to many tables, and you can't have many to many relationships. And so you create an intersection table to have a one-to-many relationship on both sides. So this has a one-to-many relationship with rooms, and it has a one-to-many relationship with profiles. Data-based.
Well done.
Yeah, we need to get little interaction things here where I can click a button and it just pops up with in database, or definitely need to
like in
up
the radio.
our Twitch game.
All right. Well, I'll give you a choice. We can either go and smash out some RLS policies, or we can write a trigger that will automatically insert when you create a room. You can automatically insert yourself into that room that you just created, because that would make sense, right?
That would make sense.
Yeah. So it's it's up to you.
Well, we're going to have to write the policies anyway, aren't we?
We're going to have to do both.
This isn't an or. This is just in what order. Well, since we're creating the tables, let's create the policies as well, just so we have everything on that side sorted, get the boring stuff out of the way, and then we'll jump into that exciting, fancy trigger stuff. All right, so let's create authentication policies.
I feel like we got to keep jumping back to chat though. It's all happening in chat.
It's going wild.
Yeah, it's going wild today. It's great.
It's often called a joint. Hey, Patrick, was I right that it is called an intersection table? Because I decided, since no one could challenge it, that I would talk with a lot of confidence and
authority
on the topic. So I feel like a lecture slide from my university days popped into my head for a second, and I could recite the entire thing, but I could have got it completely wrong. So you can correct us on that if I did. I'm planning to have Supabase as a Postgres database for our company's internal apps because we need Supabase for the real-time capabilities. Is Supabase ready for this? It absolutely is. Yeah, Supabase real-time. Yeah.
Comes with role of security and everything.
Yeah. So this was a big thing. If you were following along with Supabase early on, real-time was one of the kind of, this is still in beta features, because it would just give you every new event that happened, regardless of whether you should actually be able to see it. So it wasn't running through the same rule set as RLS and applying those policies. But now it does. And so it is completely, I'm going to say, ready for production.
Yeah, also it was a big feature of our launch week was, and we had an enterprise day where we featured all the kind of things we're adding specifically for enterprises. So, we're really, we're catering more and more to bigger companies, which is awesome.
Yeah. So build your company's internal apps and reach out, let us know what you've built. I guess if it's an internal app, it probably isn't open source, and I guess we're building this for our company and this is open source. But yeah, let us know how you go. Let us know if you run into any problems or anything that is missing there. Patrick has said, sounds good, never heard of it called that. I might be the incorrect one here. Even if self-hosting. So actually I haven't played with that, but I believe everything self-hosting is in a Docker container. So it also, I believe, scales up the...
should be the same thing. So it should come with like role-level security enabled with real-time and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the language that I'm blanking on for real-time? Elixir. Yeah, it should also create the Elixir server, which is what's responsible for pumping out
I think it does.
Events. But if it doesn't, let us know. We are going to have to go away from the chat at some point and keep there's so much gold in here.
Yeah.
Oracle uses intersection table, but I think the important part is that we understand each other's. So I guess it's not really important what we call it. But it's interesting that you specify Oracle, because my intro to databases and my advanced databases classes at university were all Oracle. So it could actually just be a very specific thing there. Thanks, but I like Supabase dark theme. Was curious whether you plan to implement that export feature directly in the dashboard. Actually, it was something that was being talked about at one point. It's something that we definitely want to support from the dashboard. Being able to just dump out your whole database, especially when it's such a simple command. Like behind the scenes, it's just like literally running pg dump, right? So Alaister is now working on the front end team and will be working in the dashboard, and I can confirm may implement it at some point.
Yeah, if there's anything you hate, just come and yell at me. I'll try and get it sorted for you.
And Sergey has realized a very important point here, that this chat and this stream is definitely the fastest way to get a direct line to the Supabase team. And so
I think actually that would be a happy chat, John. I think we'll reply
yeah.
Message in happy chat. We will be there any hour of the day. But if you happen to be online at the time when we're doing this stream, this is the absolute perfect time to come and ask us questions. So tune in every week to get direct support from the Supabase team. Yeah, definitely faster than GitHub PRs. But yes, as
although
mentioned,
we'd love PRs. We accept
do
a lot of PRs. So if you got
absolutely
any, send them
all
over.
right.
All right,
Let's get to
do
the
it.
exciting part. Policies.
Policies. I think we actually need a little helper function to use in our policies. The reason being because our room participants table, we kind of need to read. It's kind of a circular thing. The permissions for the room participants table are dictated by the room participants. So it's, yeah. What's the best way to explain? Maybe we'll write the function and then it will make more sense.
Yeah. So are you saying like, so the person who created the room is able to decide whether the room is public or whether it's restricted to particular people?
Well,
is that what you mean?
No, I think we'll come around to that in a bit.
Right.
This is more just, you want to be able to read all the other participants in rooms that you're in. So see, that's two levels deep. So we'll make a little function called isRoomParticipant, I think. And this will really help us out when writing the security policies. It returns a Boolean.
Ooh, this
schema public is fine.
Oh yeah, right. I was thinking, ooh, these are not
this is
very
something where you
nice
can fix,
looking
right?
types.
That's
Like an
actually
easy fix, Alaister, maybe.
Well, I think that's actually a browser bug, unfortunately, because my Chrome does that. Like any code highlighting in my Chrome on any website looks like that, which makes it really annoying to try and copy code samples because it's just, you can't see it. So I'll
at least
check,
it does
though.
give you the like blue and white, so
The
you
highlight,
can
yeah.
at least see the one you're highlighted over. So we were saying this was a bool.
Yep.
Are we going to have any arguments coming into this?
We
function?
are actually going to have two arguments: one for the room ID, which is a UUID, and one for the profile ID, which is also a UUID.
Perfect. Oh,
beautiful. Now the definition, we just need to essentially, we're actually going to just use regular SQL. We don't even need to jump up to PLPGSQL. We're going to keep it super simple and nice.
In that case, we need to come down here and change our language to SQL. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll go through the advanced options in a second. We basically just need to do exactly what the function is called and check if the given person with the given profile ID is a member of whatever room, which is provided by the room ID. So this is a really general purpose function. So maybe we just use the exists like you would in a normal policy. But I think because this is normal SQL, we have to do select exists. Because policies, you kind of just do expressions, whereas this, you need to actually do SQL. John's on it. Yeah.
And so what are we selecting?
From room participants, this will be. And then we just need to do those two parameters as where parameters. So,
where room ID is equal to, can we do this?
So it's going to yell at you because that is ambiguous, which is quite right, because it is ambiguous. So what I like to do is alias the table name. So maybe we can just call it RP after room participants. And then we can say rp.roomid equals, and then we can do a couple of things here, but I just like to prefix the next room ID with the function name. So in this case, is room participant dot room ID.
I didn't know that you can prefix it with the function name. That's handy.
So that will...
Hey, run that one by me again. Oh, because we're creating a function here. So this is room participant. This function, we can actually prepend automatically this.
That's it. So that will...
Whoop. There we go.
Yeah, so that will actually reference that argument coming from the function. So that's how you disambiguate. Or is it deambiguate? No, it's disambiguate, isn't it?
Disambiguate. That is very cool. And so then can we also do an add here?
Yes, please.
Or where RP dot what was the other one? Profile ID.
Yeah.
is equal to isRoom participant dot profile ID. Is very cool. And I can quickly explain what this select one is doing. Here's my moment to shine. If we were doing a regular select query, we might say something like select star, and that's going to give us back all the columns, or we could list out the columns, like if we wanted to grab, any of the columns. Created that. Sure. I was like, hang on, there's only 3 columns. So if we did select star from blah, if you've done any kind of intro to SQL stuff, that should look pretty familiar. So what we're doing is we're selecting all of the columns from this table where this condition is true. And so because we don't actually care about those columns that come back, we don't care about any of those values. We just care whether this returns us something or it doesn't. So if we say select 1, then this is going to return us true if there is a row where this condition is true. And so then we're checking if that exists, which takes either a true or false. So since this returns us true, then if it can find a room where these 2 conditions are true, then this whole thing will be true. Otherwise, it will be false.
Nice. Yep. Sweet. I think you've got a cheeky extra semicolon there that you don't need because it's inside that exists function.
Cool.
So let's go through our advanced options. That looks good. I think we can make the behavior stable because we're not writing to the database. So this will just give us a little bit of performance concerns. The only other one there is immutable, which you'd use if you weren't reading from the database as well. So because we are actually reading, we'll stick with stable. But say you just had a function that was add 1 and you took in an argument and just returned, added a number to it and then returned that would be an immutable function because you're not actually reading any data and it always returns the same thing, given the same arguments.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it's
does that mean it would only
nice.
do the calculation once and then if it sees the same signature, it would just reuse
I'm not sure actually what performance enhancements it does, but I think it's good to specify the correct behavior. If you're unsure, just select volatile and it will work, which is why it's the default, but you can get slightly improved performance by and other things, I'm sure, probably. I'll have to find out. But yeah, then the last thing, we actually do need to make this a security definer function. And I think, John, you had a pretty good explanation. Was it last week or the week before?
Yeah. Do you want it again? I can give you the same one.
I'd love it again, please.
It's the only one I've got. So the way that you should think about this is if your function is being invoked by a particular user of your application. So if it's based on like them clicking a button or something like that, and you want to check whether that specific user should be able to run this function, then you want it to be security invoker. And so that's a function being executed with the privileges of the user that's calling it. But then if this is like a system thing, so if this is something that's happening, like it's being called by the database, or it's something that's happening at that system level, we want to go security definer. And so that gives it the same privileges that we currently have as the Supabase user currently, as this dashboard user. But yeah, that's the kind of distinction that helps when you're thinking about security invoker or security definer. Is this happening because the user who's signed in should or shouldn't have permission to do this thing? Or is it just some kind of system action that I'm setting up in the database?
It's a beautiful explanation.
I'll even probably try and extend that a bit more because we might want to call this from the front end, but which is allowed. But it's also, you said it in your explanation there, is one runs the function with the same permissions as the user, the security invoker, which will mean that our RLS rules that we're about to write after this will apply. This one, we always want to bypass the rules, which is why we want security definer, because we're actually going to use it within our RLS rules, right? So if we, which is the kind of like the machine calling it, if you think about it. So, it is a good definition, certainly, but we are going to use it in our RLS rules. So we do want it to bypass them, because otherwise we'll end up with a kind of circular thing and we'll just not get any results back.
Sure.
Nice.
All right, cool. So we can create that. And while that's happening, Patrick is saying they spend thousands of per month hosting Auth, Microsoft SQL, and hosting with Azure. I feel like we'd save a lot and build faster on Supabase. Potentially. Maybe it's something you should look into.
I'll say we're all biased, but yeah, totally.
Don't ask the Azure team. They
a little bit, just a little bit.
And Wembo's here, who
Wembo!
if you have any real-time questions, now's the time to chuck them in the chat, because Wembo built real-time and or I think was primary developer on all of the new stuff and all of the RLS stuff that we were talking about earlier. So yes, and he's given you an open invitation to ask him any questions in the chat, and he will definitely get back to you. So yeah, would you recommend polymorphism, Alaister?
Tyler?
Wally? Wembo?
That's a very broad question.
Goes a bit beyond my understanding. I understand the basics of like object-oriented polymorphism, but yeah, when you get to databases, it gets a bit hazy for me.
I'm not sure of the context. I think we'd need more context to answer that one properly.
Yeah.
But sometimes yes, sometimes no, depending on the context.
Great answer.
The worst answer.
Open a PR, or PR's welcome, and it depends. The answers to every developer question.
All right, so back to it. We've got our little helper function now.
Yeah.
Do we want to try and test it before? If we just manually set up a room using the table explorer and then add ourselves as a participant to it, and then just make sure it returns true, just as a sanity check?
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. So you mean just like manually through our database?
Yes, please.
All right. So we want to add a.
I think we need to set up a room first.
Yes.
We can call it like test room or something. Doesn't really matter.
Happy room.
Oh.
And then this gives us a UUID. And so we can copy that and then come across to our room participants. Actually, we're going to need... Oh, no, we can...
Profile ID as well.
You know what is just so lovely is the
it's not going to work.
Damn it! I was just about to set us up for success.
Oh no!
I remembered.
I'm on the front end team now. I've got to fix this.
This is Alaister's fault. This is his problem to fix. So yeah, if we do add a UUID, then we can go and reference the other table and see what it is. But if we don't have one in our clipboard, we would need to go find one. However, if we had used integers, we could have just guessed one. We could have just gone with 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4. I'm joking. So we need to go and get one of those. And I'm just going to put this here for now, so we still have it. And so we've got a room ID. We need a profile ID. And maybe we'll do Thor since I'm signed in as him.
I think that's a good idea.
And then we can say whatever mean stuff we want. We'll talk all about polymorphism with full authority, completely incorrectly. We'll think it was just Thor. All right, so we've got our room.
Oh,
hey Alaister, I've got a new bug for you.
Did you hit enter? Did that work?
Maybe I hit enter. Yeah. So we have our room and our profile, and so this should create an intersection.
Here we go again.
So we can have some room participants. Cool. So then how would we check that this worked?
So then we're just going to call our function via the SQL editor, yeah. But we're going to need those 2 IDs. Yeah.
All right. Room participants. Copy one of these. Put it here. And copy one of these. Put it here. And then we also need the name of our function, I guess.
It's
which I'm sure you
remember. Yeah. is room participant singular.
All right. So we want to call is room. Oh, look at that. Autocomplete. Thank you, Supabase.
I think
And
we'll
then-
need a select as well. Select is room participant because it's SQL, and that's how you do SQL. You just put select in front of everything.
So were you saying last week that if we do double quotes, that's like a string, but it's the same as not having any quotes?
So it's a column name when you do double quotes. So a single quote is
Single
a
quotes
string,
is a string.
and then
This would be the same as this, or not in a function call?
no, other way around. So if it was double quotes, that would be the same as that. But although there's dashes in that, so it might not apply. So you want single quotes here.
Yes.
And the format, the code highlighting actually helps you out there. So you can see it's
yeah. So if I was to go like this, whoops,
bookmarks.
that's not what we want. Don't bookmark this. Yeah, the code highlighting is saying, hey, you look like you've done something incorrectly. And so yeah, we can wrap that in single quotes, put a semicolon even though we don't need it, and then we can run this.
And with a bit of luck, we should get true.
Yes.
Which we do. And then the
Awesome.
final sanity check, just go into the profiles table, grab a random ID and swap that out for the second ID and the function call, and we should get false, as long as it's not Thor's ID again.
All right, we'll do John's ID this time. And it was the first one was profile?
I think it was room and then profile.
Room and then profile. Run that and we should get false.
Nice.
Nice.
Excellent.
Wow.
You are good at writing Postgres functions.
I didn't write it, John. You did.
That's true. I'm good at it.
All right. RLS, let's go.
Okay.
We can use our new helper function.
I was just going to quickly pull this up to clarify the polymorphism in database because Prisma decided not to have it, but it saves a lot of extra tables but sacrifices proper foreign keys. It's still, I think, above my head.
Me too.
Yeah, I think there are ways you can get around it, like making an extra table that references both things, or both things reference that table, and then using that as your join table. But we probably need a whole stream to go over that. And yeah. So sometimes I'm just going to stick with my answer. Sometimes
it depends. All right, cool. So what do we want to do next?
RLS.
Oh yeah, we never wrote that policy. I said we were going to write the policy, and then we got distracted.
Well, no, because we need this function.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
we're going to use this function. So let's do the rooms table first before we do room participants. It might make it be a little bit easier. And we'll just go straight for full customization. So the first policy is, I don't know, like can view rooms participating in. That's bad English, but feel free to improve it. Within
or around the rooms.
All right.
Can view room. Wait, can the participant in room. Is that what we're writing?
Yeah, well, you're able to view the rooms that you're participating in. That's the security rule.
And view rooms you can participate in.
You are participating.
Yeah.
You are participating in.
Nice.
Beautiful. So that's a select.
Oh, there's a new feature here. Check this out. Target roles. So Joshin just got this in. This is awesome. So now we have the ability within our policy editor to target policies to only specific roles. So instead of just applying them to, like the anon on an authenticated role. So this is useful if we wanted to put some custom roles in, which I don't think we'll get into on this stream, but it's a very useful feature, which is now there.
Awesome. So we don't want to scope this down to a particular role, though, do we? Because we want...
we can just leave it blank.
Awesome.
Or we could choose authenticated.
It's a great feature. We'll ignore it now. But yes, so that is very cool. I'm sure we'll be able to show how that can be very useful in a future stream.
Dev Stuff has sent us through a message saying, finally, I catch this live and looks like I'm an hour late. That's all right. You've joined us for the meat and potatoes of the stream. We're into the
going
good
into the
part.
fun stuff. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of like watch it out of order. So you can watch the second half now, and then when we finish, you can go back and watch the first half, and you'll finally understand all of our callbacks and all of our jokes about intersection tables and all kinds of things. All right.
We can use our function now, which is great.
I was hoping it was in my pasty paste.
What
was that function called again?
Is
Participant?
Is room participant.
Participant.
Is room participant.
Maybe you should pop that in the clipboard. We're going to use it about 6 more times. So
right, I will do that.
So the first parameter is the room ID, which is just a column called ID here because we're on the rooms table. And the second parameter is our current user ID because we want to check if we, as the current user, are in that given room. So that's it.
So this is a special helper function we get from Supabase. So this is a Postgres function that's been written for us. It just basically extracts out the user ID from the user who is currently signed in as this is being run. So that was a terrible way of explaining it, but let's say you are a user who is trying to view the page and you're signed in. Then when this policy runs to see whether you are allowed to select each of those rows, this user ID will be your user ID. So me as a signed in user, as Thor, this would be Thor's user ID. So we want to check whether when we call isRoomParticipant, which gives us back true or false, we pass in the ID, which is the column of this table because this policy is on the rooms table. This will be the that particular row we're looking at's ID, and then checking whether that, passing in also the currently signed in user. And so then this will give us back true or false, which then, because this is a using condition, we need to specify an expression that gives us back true or false. So that's all we need to do, right?
That is it. That's simple, which is, it's kind of nice. We wrote that big scary SQL function, but then we can just use it like that, and it's nice.
It's very nice.
Beautiful.
Hey, Alaister, I have a button for you. I can't get to my button when I'm zoomed in. Yes, if you're experiencing that, just zoom out slightly. It's fine. And again, this shows us the SQL that's being, or the SQL that's being generated for us. And so then we can run that on our database by clicking Save Policy.
Green check mark. You gotta love it.
Nice. And so now we can write a policy for our room participants.
Well, maybe let's do one for creating the room, because we'll leave updating and deleting for the minute, but we will need to create them. So anyone can create a room. Or maybe we can use, maybe only authenticated people can create the room. We can use we can use the new thing.
I love it. I said in a future stream, but I just meant in the future in this stream. We can now show that we can apply this only to authenticated users. Yeah. But wait, doesn't this mean this policy would only run if they have that rule?
Which rule?
Can we do authenticated and then just say true here? And then it would only run on, okay, cool.
I think so. Let's try it out. We're the test team for the
this stream is QA. Like we go through and we step through everything and find all those bugs. Cool. So that should be all we need to do. So we can target specifically authenticated. So remember, a policy is basically enabling actions. So RLS denies all actions by default, and then we need to write a policy for any action that we want to enable. And so if this returns true, then they're allowed to do that. And so if this policy only ever runs for authenticated users, then any other role, it just won't run. And so therefore it can't ever evaluate to true, which means it'll just stick with the default behavior, which is to deny that action.
Yeah. And I think the reason we're doing this is because in the future, we're looking to deprecate the auth.role field. Don't worry, it's not going away anytime soon, but just keep that in your mind as something that may come along. But this is the reason we're doing that is this is a much better way of doing it, and will allow for custom roles in the future, which is going to be sweet.
Nice.
All right, nice. Now we can room participants.
Just quickly, we've got another very complex question for you, Alaister. How do you recommend implementing version control against all the Postgres schema and functions?
How would I recommend it? I'd recommend going over to the Supabase repo, opening up a GitHub discussion, and I'll then tag all of our excellent Postgres engineers in there.
Awesome. Yeah.
But no, it's a really interesting question, because I'd actually like to know. I've never had to do that before, so it'd be good to know a solution for that one.
Yeah, excellent question. All right, room participants. What would we like our room participants to be able to do?
So I think we're actually, let's think about this. We want room participants. I think it's going to be the same thing. When we're in a room, we want to view all the other room participants in that room. So we can view the other room participants if we are a participant. So that's a very roundabout saying of we're just doing exactly the same thing. Is room participant.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. So can view other room participants for rooms they can participate in.
Oh my God.
Oh, we hit the limit.
Is it more like they are in? They are in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call. Much simpler. So this is going to be a select policy. I mean, this would only apply to people who are signed in, but yeah, we don't need to.
It doesn't matter.
That level. Yeah. Yes. So we just want to check is.
Did you keep it in the clipboard?
Oh,
nice.
And we want to check that that is the case for our room ID, which is the column on room participants.
Yep.
And then also our profile ID, right? That's the other column.
We don't want to use the other column. We want to use our current user again, because we want to check if that row exists.
And that's not what we're doing. We go UID, which is actually the function that we can call to get that back. So we're just checking whether the currently signed in user is a participant of this particular room.
Let's go. Come on, green check mark. Where are you? There we
go. We did it. So we probably want an insert statement as well, right? To be able to add.
Yes. So we got to think. Maybe we'll just let anyone with the room ID add anyone else to the room for the minute, and we'll come back in maybe next stream or the stream after and add in roles. But for now, we'll do something hilariously insecure and just let you add yourself to whatever rooms. Although it's not too bad, because I suppose you need the room ID to add people. So there's a very limited amount of security, but it's better than nothing.
So if the room ID...
But hang on, how this isn't going to work, because you can't, you're trying to... Oh, maybe actually, yeah, anyone can add anyone else. No, John, I take it back. You're a genius.
I knew it. So if they are a room participant, which means at some point we would need to manually, like at the moment, we can only manually add the first room participant through Supabase, through the Supabase dashboard.
No, we'll that's the trigger I was talking about. So we'll have it, so when you create a room, we'll have the system automatically add you to that room, and then you, because you're now in that room, can go ahead and add other people.
So you were explaining it too early, and I was like, yeah, that's probably a thing. But now it actually makes sense. Yes. So when you create a new room, so you say, I want to name my room this or whatever, I want to open a new room, you automatically get added as the only participant, which means you're then the only person that has the ability to add all of the other participants. The only leaking security hole is that any other participant can invite anyone else.
It's not too bad, really, though, because that's like how Facebook Messenger works sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, true.
Right?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think
so.
Yeah. So yeah, cool. We just need to check whether they are a participant. Cool.
And then maybe we just need one more for delete, where you can remove yourself from a room.
Good call.
Mm.
When you're no longer feeling happy in Happy Chat, you can remove yourself so that you don't continue feeling unhappy. You can join a different room that's happier. User can remove themselves from a room. And so I guess this would just be that the profile ID is equal to our auth.uid, right?
Perfect. Yep.
Right.
So if that row exists with their own profile ID, they're allowed to remove it, which is fine. If you want to leave a chat, you can leave a chat.
Awesome.
Sweet. So yeah, I think that will probably do us for permissions. Now we just need to set up that trigger to insert the first user when you create a room, and then we can build the UI in no time at all.
Well,
That's gonna take a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah. Turns out building apps is time consuming. It's fun though.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, like you look at the complexity of app that we're building, I think we're doing pretty well, especially because we're talking through it.
Yeah.
Like half of them we were reading through the YouTube comments, so you know.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, YouTube comment.
YouTube comment break.
There's only one, but it's a big one. The function security invoker and definer difference mentioned earlier should basically be the fact that it uses or should use the anon key versus the service key. Almost. So not the anon key, but the currently signed in user's JWT token, if you want to look at it like that.
So the user's key versus the service key. Yep. Or the anon key. The anon key is right if the user is not logged in. So it's like the anon key versus, and the anon key and the user key are security invoker. The service key is security definer. So yes, you are right.
Yeah. Awesome. Right. We were going to create a new function. So we want to create a trigger function. Is that right?
Yes, we do.
So this is going to be something that returns a trigger. And so this is, can I call this insert
room
creator
participants or creator? Yep, perfect.
Insert creator into room.
I love it.
Insert user into room. Because we don't need to add the when created, because that would be specific to the trigger that we're going to allocate to this. So the function itself is just responsible for inserting a creator into a room, whereas the trigger will be the thing that calls that function when a new room is
and once again, going back to the security invoker versus security definer, this is going to be another security definer, because if you remember, we set up an RLS role to prevent users from inserting into rooms they're not in, but we need to bypass that rule because we're not in the room yet. So that's why we're going to use security definer here.
Cool. So do we want to go with a begin and an end, or do we just want to write this in SQL with an insert?
So here's the fun thing. It's a good tip. If you're writing a trigger, you always need to use PLPG SQL. So thanks for calling that out.
Yeah. And the reason is because we need access to the new variable. And so new is a special variable that exists within functions that return triggers. So anything that's being called by a trigger, you have new if it's an insert, you have new and old if it's an update. So the new record and the old record. And then delete, I guess you would only have the old record that's right, being deleted.
And you also need to return that new because that's actually, you can actually modify that new in any ways you like. And then that is what gets inserted into the row. Yeah.
Nice. Oh yeah, right. So you can modify whatever new is, and then when you return it, that's correct, the value that actually
goes. So don't forget to return it.
Here we want to insert into room participants.
Nice.
What we call the table? Yes.
Yep. Room ID, profile ID.
Room ID, profile ID. And the reason we need to specify these two is because we don't care about created at, isn't it? If we didn't
Yep.
have that, we'd have to specify all 3 columns, right?
If you just, when you're inserting, you just specify which columns you want to insert to, I guess.
Unnecessary detail. I getcha. Insert into room participants, room ID, profile ID, and this would be our new dot.
Just ID for this one. Because if you remember, the schema for our rooms table was ID created at name. So we want the room ID just comes through on the new.id, because new in this case is a row for a room.
Nice. And then can we do this magic here as well and say auth
Absolutely.
UID? So the person who's actually trying to do this is the one that we want to insert as the profile ID.
Yep.
And then, as you were saying before, we need to expand out our advanced settings. This time PLPGSQL and volatile is fine, but we need to make sure that we select security definer, because this action, whilst it's based on the user creating a new room, the action itself of putting someone into that room is a server-side detail. Like it's a thing that the database needs to do rather than the user who's currently signed in. So we do security definer to sidestep RLS and be able to actually do it, because otherwise our policy would deny this action.
Awesome. Maybe you want to copy the function name you hit.
Unless we created a new policy that only was for this service role. Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. Never mind.
Well, you could make a new policy that if a room is empty, you can insert into it, but I feel like there are security concerns with that.
Yeah.
Because, someone somehow found the ID before anyone was, although I guess it wouldn't really matter because no one was in the room.
Someone could leave the room and then, come in and
that's true.
see all the history and stuff. Yeah.
See all the history, yeah. So this way it handles it for us. It's so nice because we just have to create the room, and then it does it for us. It puts us in that room.
So cool. And that's that's just such a cool thing that Supabase kind of surfaces, is this just kind of live, ever-evolving backend where the backend can automate all of these tasks and do all of these things, and you can just kind of subscribe to different events when those things change. So if you have a UI that needs to update when one of those changes happens, then you can use real-time to do that. If you have some external service that needs to be called anytime something in the database changes, then you can use async triggers, or what will be called async triggers soon, which is currently still called function hooks.
Now it's my job to change that as well.
But that I like that mindset of like the database is ever evolving, this kind of automated machine, and then your clients can kind of just subscribe to the different bits of data that they actually care about. Cool. So that's it. So now we need to set up a trigger. So we've just created the function, which is something that can perform that action. But then we need to create a trigger, which is where we specify when we want that function to be called. So if we say create new trigger.
Do you remember the function name?
Uh-oh.
Whoa. I didn't mean to make this not full screen.
Maybe we want to just copy that before we jump into creating a trigger.
So this one was insert creator into room.
Good name.
Now, it's an excellent name. We want a trigger. And so our trigger can just be, what was the naming convention for triggers again?
We can do like an on naming on rooms created or something like that, or
The table that we want to put this on is the rooms, the public.rooms table. So anytime a new room is created, so insert is the event that we care about. And then we want this to happen after the event. So after that row has actually been created, want this to happen on a per row basis. We went through all of this in more detail previous stream, but you pretty much always want to select row. I'd say most of the time when you're doing this kind of stuff, you want it to be after. And then you choose a function that you want to call. See, I didn't even need to copy it.
I do not remember this.
Oh.
Is this new?
UI is just
It
so
might be new.
It's not super new, but
all right.
But yeah, Supabase just kind of makes
Sweet.
all of this stuff a nice like clickable UI that you can just can click around and do powerful things. So we didn't need to remember the name because it's right here. Insert creator into room. then we can confirm this. Although that change maybe might look slightly different. Cool.
Nice.
And that should be it. So now if we create
Beautiful.
a room, well, maybe we should wire up.
Yeah,
we got half an hour. Maybe we should wire up the front end to be able to create a room.
We're going to speed through the front end. But before we do, I think Sergi had an excellent question in the chat. Is there a way to use new when creating insert policy? What's the recommended way to access row to be inserted in this case? So in RLS policies, it actually exposes the whole row. It kind of, I don't know what's the best word, unwraps it. So you can just access the column names directly in there. As John, I don't know if you want to pull up one of those policies that we wrote, but we use the ID column and the room ID, profile ID, all in there, and it just works. Yeah.
So
that room ID, where we say room ID there, is actually on that row. So it gives you that by default. So instead of having to say new dot room ID, you just say room ID.
And so the reason that you can just do room ID is because this is a row level policy. And so this policy will run for every single row. And so when this policy is running, you're kind of focused on a particular row that you're trying to insert. So in the case of a new record that's being inserted, because this is an insert policy, it will be the one row that you're trying to insert into the database currently. So this room ID will link to that particular column.
Nice.
All right. I can take that off the screen, back over here.
Front end time.
All right. I like front end time.
Well,
I feel like
you better really like it.
We're going to have to do room time very quickly. So should we not worry about kind of the UX, UI, or like the UX around this getting through creating a room and popping up a modal or whatever? We do all that later. Should we just create a new page?
Let's just smash it out as fast as possible.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah, let's think about it actually before we jump into it. We just need a button to create a new room, right? And then we'll put each room on a route, like /rooms/the ID. And that is essentially just our message screen that we've got at the moment. And then the home screen, I guess, will just become a list of rooms. Like ideally, I was saying to Tyler before the stream, we'll have like a sidebar of your rooms and then the main chat window. But for now, I think it's simpler just to put it on pages.
You mean put a new page or put a button?
Well, let's just do a button, maybe. Yeah, right there, perfect.
Just next to here,
wherever.
have the
or on the other side. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
On the right side, maybe. Yeah,
we got to go fast.
Let's go.
We're asking too many questions. All right, this is going to be not a span. It's going to be a button, and it's going to be inside here, and it's going to say.
See, it's immediately freaking me out that that's in the H1, but I shouldn't have said anything.
Just go with it.
Just go with it.
All right, I'm going to put this over here so we don't need to keep swiping across it. So we've got new room, which doesn't look like a button. And quick side note, just slow everything down. This is something that I actually really like about Tailwind, is that it disables everything by default. And so as in all styling, sorry. I'll try and explain this better. So if I do a button, I don't need to then go and like unstyle that button so it doesn't look like a weird like 1990s button from default HTML styling. It takes away all that styling by default, or just gives you some very basic styling. And so then you choose the styling that you actually want. So in this case, we probably want the text to be like maybe extra small. Oops. I've done it again. We maybe want some margin left. And let's make it at least look like a button with a border. I remember how to do a border. I think I need maybe a border color.
You'd need a color, yeah. It's just border green or border whatever.
Border green.
500.
I like it.
200, whatever. Perfect.
Well, it's green, so
neon green.
Make that red, obviously. Look at that. This is beautiful.
It'll work.
What are you
It'll
on?
work.
All right, maybe we'll just give it a little bit of padding And rather than that, we'll do background red. And I mean, buttons are rounded, right? So we'll have a rounded button. Beautiful. We can fix up the styling for this later, but really all we need is this button. So when we click it, it can create us a new room and then ideally navigate us to that room so we can view it. And so I'm going to give this an on-click handler.
So are we not gonna bother with the room names for now?
Because we made it null, we're not going to bother with them.
Okay, sounds good.
I think where the happy chat text sits will eventually change out to the room name. But for now, we'll just create a room with no name.
Sounds great.
Because we're going to go fast.
You've
got to type faster, John. Pressure's on.
It's making me type slower, making me do more mistakes. Do we need anything in here? No, we just literally need to say await supabase.from. Our rooms table, we want to insert a new room, which is just actually going to be this, isn't it? It's just going to be like an empty object.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because we're not giving it a name, and will automatically be inserted into it, and all of that magic is happening behind the scenes. So, do we even need to give it an empty object? I wonder. Yeah, I guess
probably.
No.
And then we'll just grab the ID coming back from it and maybe do a router.push over to that. Or maybe we just do a console log for the first one. Yeah, John. So you're already on it.
I gotta go fast. I gotta go really fast. So if I click new room, we get data null, and we get a 403. Am I currently signed in? I am signed in.
Are you signed in?
Hello. Should still be able to send a message.
Yeah,
I am signed in.
I wonder why you're getting 403. Seems like an odd error.
It does. Let's check. Ooh.
Oh,
let's look at our policy. Did we make a policy for inserting rooms? We did, didn't we? We said anyone could insert a room.
Yeah.
Or just
think so.
So
we just left it as true.
Insert. So how about we
take off that the weird thing that we haven't learned yet?
Yeah, let's not be so experimental here, and let's just say if our auth.role is equal to authenticated.
You need a function call.
Yes.
Nice.
If our role is equal to authenticated, then we should be allowed to do it. So this just means anyone who is error updating policy, error syntax.
Just delete the policy and create it again. Just copy that and then copy paste.
We gotta go faster than that.
Yeah. Or maybe we should have copied the name.
We could have actually just left the policy, right? Because it's only
they get awed. Yeah. You're right.
Anyway, insert. Anyone can create a new room, and then this is going to be auth.role is equal to authenticated. And review, save. And then let's see if this is going to work now. So if I refresh and click new room, our data is still null. Yeah, we're still getting a 403. So this is still giving us...
Can we make sure that the trigger function is definitely a security definer?
Good call.
That's my only thought, is because if the function wasn't a security definer, it would still be trying to insert with using those RLS policies.
Yeah. So this was our insert creator into room. Shouldn't it still be creating the rooms though? Oh no.
No, because it runs in a transaction. It's one of the nice things about Postgres is the triggers get included in that transaction. So
we can't see it. Hey, Alaister.
Oh no.
I found a bug for you. This is actually a real one that has plagued me. Is you can't scroll down, even if it was just a read-only field. You can't scroll down and see what a function is. Is there an SQL way to check the security the security level of a function? I can hear you Googling. I can see you. You need to know all of the answers to these questions off the top of your head. Let's see. You can beat him. Postgres documentation. I don't have time for this. All right, what else can we try? We could just delete it and recreate it. But
Alaister, you're on mute. Alaister, you're on mute.
Alaister, talk louder.
Or your battery is out or something.
Hello?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
hello.
I can hear
We can hear you.
The mic literally somehow came unplugged. I just tried to push it back in. Anyway, before we try deleting it, we can just disable the trigger. So if you go to triggers, there's an option to turn it off. So
sorry, in triggers.
In the triggers, yeah. We could disable RLS. We could do, but
now we're talking. Turn off TypeScript, disable RLS. You got my attention.
So yeah, if you click the 3 dots on the on room created one.
On room created, edit trigger.
Change it from origin to disabled.
Oh, that's cool. So we don't need to delete the whole trigger. We can just disable it.
So now let's click our button again and we'll find out where the error is. So maybe our new UI was working fine and we just didn't know.
Yeah. And if we weren't rushing through this, obviously we would go and check the logs, which maybe we're going to do now. Oh, wait, no, we already know what the problem is because the log is just going to tell us that it violates RLS. But yes, it wasn't the trigger. It may be well, yeah, we just rewrote this policy, didn't we?
I mean, how is that possible? Okay.
So rooms insert role equals.
Just make it true.
Yeah.
Just make it true to start. We're going to go as simple as possible.
All right. And we will work out what's going on. Even if we need to finish the stream, we'll recap this one at the start of the next one if we don't get a chance. Oof.
All right.
Still 403. It just doesn't like Thor. Did we write an exclusion where Thor's not allowed to use our application?
I don't know. Could we possibly misspell rooms? Or are we writing rooms or room in the
front end
function
code?
call? Yeah, on the front end code. Did we spell the table name correctly?
That is an excellent thing to check. But this time,
rooms. Okay.
This time we've got rooms. So Supabase from rooms. If anyone in the chat is looking at this and just like screaming.
Is that empty object doing something? Do we need to put?
Yeah, put a name in.
Let's do that.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter though, right? Anyway,
I feel like it shouldn't, but
I should probably refresh this. No, still 403.
Can you try clearing your browser cache, logging out, logging in again? That just, it's the equivalent of it.
I would, but I don't remember.
You can't remember the password.
But you could do it on yours if you just sign out. If you can,
you'd have to push it.
Yeah,
you're not running on localhost like I am. All right, let's create. Well, it takes too long to create a new account. What else could be going on?
Let's look at the logs. See if the logs tell us anything.
See if it nudges us in the right direction. So we can come over to database. And do you reckon we want Postgres logs or API logs?
Let's go with
we have a
logs.
great comment from Jason. Did we use select in the functions? That's gonna be it, right? That's gonna be it. I've run into this problem a few times. If the user doesn't have permission to select from that table that they're writing to, they don't get any data back. And
yes,
we can check.
100% correct. No, he's got it. He's nailed it.
Yeah. Thanks, Jason.
Supabase does, whenever it does an insert, it does an immediate select. Because you remember what we were trying to do is get back the ID for the room that we were trying to create. And so that data object that comes back is, there's always a select. This is definitely something that we should have picked up on very quickly. But you can actually do returning
minimal.
And set this to minimal. then this won't do the select. It will only do the insert. So, I mean, we're just trying to console log out nothing here. But just to confirm that this is what's going on. Boom. And that's why we have a chat. That's why we have Jason here.
So,
Jason, you just got a job at Supabase.
Can you look in the
Yeah, if we go to the
tables
table
thing?
editor, we have a bunch of rooms created then, actually.
Yeah, do we have a bunch of rooms created, or did that like void the whole transaction?
That's a good point. I think it would have.
I don't think it voids it. I think it...
It did. So we've only got the one.
did?
So we've only got the one that we
okay.
created just then. Yeah, so that makes sense because it's all like it is all happening transactionally.
Okay, but we still need the room ID, right? Because we need to redirect to that room. So can we
Right.
So we just need to
try?
write a policy.
What policy are we going to write though?
True.
Because I thought our policy was you could view a room if you're in the room, and we had a trigger, right? Yeah, is room participant. So one thing I want to try, if we turn our trigger back on, or are you gonna let's try the target roles thing again, see if we went. Yeah, nice.
And then we also want to enable our trigger.
Well, let's do one thing at a time so we can debug easier.
All right.
Nice.
So it's still working.
Yep.
And then if we do our triggers,
because it's I don't know where Postgres is doing the actual read, so it must be doing it like within the same thing before the trigger runs. So if this works, we could try doing the trigger, doing it before instead of after.
Oh yeah, that's true. And then it would be there, and so therefore the RLS policy. Maybe
I don't know. Maybe
possibly.
We're in uncharted waters. Origin, yes, please.
Awesome. All right. We do have a bunch of questions in the chat as well, but maybe we'll go through those once we get this working correctly. So we'll do new room. So that's going to create us a new room. But then if we take off that minimal true.
Well, just make sure as well that created before we try the next one, the room participant as well. See if the trigger actually ran.
Yes.
Yep. Sweet.
Awesome. So that's all working correctly. So then we should be back to the same behavior. So if we click new room, we should get our 403. So now we're saying if we change when the trigger happens on the on room created trigger, I don't know that we can actually edit the. Yeah,
nope, you got to remake it. Front end team.
Hey, Alaister, I've got I can just delete it from here, can't I? I'm trying to go too quick. All right, so we delete the trigger. It's called that. We delete that. And then we create a new trigger. It's called that. It's on our rooms. Anytime we insert into our rooms. And so this time we're choosing before the event. And so our theory is that this will happen before RLS is checked. And then by the time it checks RLS, this field will have been populated by the function. And so therefore we'll pass RLS because we would then be a participant in the room.
Don't sound so confident, John. I'm not confident at all.
And this is calling insert creator into room. So this is called an insert trigger. This is called an intersection trigger. Where, all right, big call back to the start of the stream. If you don't get it, you need to go back and start from the start. New room, not 409.
409 conflict. Did you delete the old trigger?
Maybe we didn't. Did we?
Insert or update on table room participants.
Yeah, so it's trying to insert it twice. You definitely deleted the old trigger, right? It's not running twice.
I believe so.
That's wild.
Unless there's a...
Oh, because... No, I know. We can't actually use before because we're trying to reference in a foreign key the room that hasn't been created yet. So we do need to use after. So we're going to switch it back to after, and we're just going to keep using return minimal, and then we're going
But
to.
wait, can't we check that? Because we're just talking about. Let's see.
Can we
think
just
we can get
the most recent created room from the front end and go
Yep.
through with it?
What was I going to say? So we just want to detect that it is the person who created it.
No, so Tyler's on the money. If you just go and switch the trigger back to, if you delete it again and set it up again at hyper speed, what we'll do is we'll stick to returning minimal, so we don't read the row within that same transaction. And then after we create the room, we'll just do a read, and we'll order by created at, and we'll just grab our most recently created at.
It's an excellent idea. Good call, Tyler. Rooms.
Whatever works, right?
Insert, yeah. And so this is a perfect example. Like, this is actually a real world application now. Like, we're building something that we haven't meticulously planned out beforehand, just to show what kind of roadblocks you hit and what kinds of solutions you can go for, and what you can how you can sidestep particular things. And yeah, I think this is fun. All right, so after row, and we want to insert creator into room.
Yeah, but someone in the chat is saying should add a owner ID to rooms. We did consider it, but we're trying to keep it simple by making it more difficult. So
exactly. Least number of lines of code, but the most complex solution possible. So yes, we want to await Supabase from our rooms. We want to select all of the columns. Do we want to do like we don't know the ID, do we?
no,
Yeah,
we just want to
order.
Okay. Order. And we want the
Created at?
well, I guess just the created at.
ascending false.
Is ascending true by default on JavaScript?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay. For some reason, it's the opposite way on Dart. Okay, I feel like I shouldn't say for some reason, because I'm the maintainer of the Dart library, but I thought it would be more convenient that way, right? Most of the time, I feel like you're doing ascending false, so I like it that way.
Does single actually add a limit 1?
It doesn't. It'll right. So you do have to add a limit 1, I think. It'll fail otherwise. It'll just return an error. So
yeah, so before that single, yeah.
Great call. I feel like I can.
Oh, it'll fail because we're right. Because we're getting back a collection, and then we're telling it, this is just one thing. Right. Cool. Let's see if it works. New room. We got some data.
Neat. Okay.
We have a look at that data. We have an ID. Awesome. Very cool.
And that means our RLS policy is actually working, because we're able to read that back out, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And so, yeah, rather than creating the start of a room and getting into that, maybe we should just leave it here, and at the start of the next stream we can go through and start implementing
well
rooms.
yeah, we can answer a few more questions
for the
last 5 minutes, because Sergi has a great question there. What if Happy Chat becomes popular and 100 people create rooms at the same time? Well, this is actually solved by our RLS policy, because we'll only be reading rooms that we're in. So there is a chance, like this isn't great because there is a chance that someone invites us to a room at the same time as we create one. We grab the wrong room, but most of the time, like 99.99% of the time, this will be okay. And yeah, we'll come back to you with a solution for this next week. I'm going to do some digging as to how the triggers work and what order.
Cool. Oh, not that one. I meant this one. Lots of comments about disabling RLS. Yes, we could have done that, but then we are exposing our system. But yes, a good thing to do when you're debugging and work out what's actually applying. And then is the RLS cached? No. As soon as you make a change to RLS, like you don't even need to refresh your application. You just send the query again to Supabase, and that RLS policy will be applied, unless you're doing your own caching. If you were using something like Cloudflare in front of this and you had some caching stuff happening, then something weird might happen. But yeah, if you're going directly to Supabase or directly to Postgres, then no, it would not be cached.
Oh, John, you're asking me to remind you at the beginning of the stream to push. Even though we haven't made too many changes, it's good to have it up there, up to date. People want to jump in and help.
Yeah, maybe we won't redeploy the application just because the only functionality we've added is a button that you can just click over and over and over again to create a whole bunch of new rooms. I'll push up the code.
I think if you push it will deploy, right? I think it's fine. It could just sit there. People can click the button.
All right, be nice.
Yeah.
Don't make Coppel increase the or decrease the free tier to support Happy Chat.
Ines still with us, saying, "Are you going to deploy the updates?" There you go, just for you.
Perfect.
Sticking with us with the whole stream. It's pretty good.
And this redirect to room name instead of ID. So that would be the if we were typing in a name.
If we had any constraints on the room name, then possibly that might work. Yeah.
But I think what they're saying is that it ideally you would probably be entering in the name of the room you want to create. So if you always had a room name, then it would already be there. You wouldn't need to get it back. So you could still select minimal or return minimal. And you wouldn't need to do that additional select query because you'd already have the name. So you could forward based on that. But yes, that is a good example of the advantage of using subscription on Room Create to update the UI. The only problem there is that if we were subscribed to Realtime and subscribed to changes, we would get everyone's changes, like every time anyone created a room. So if we were navigating to the new room based on that, anytime anyone creates a room, we'd just automatically jump into it.
Well, no, not anyone. When anyone invites us to a room, right?
Right.
Because we still apply RLS policies to real-time updates.
True. Will you be doing a quick video on what changes would be needed after the functions move past the alpha version? Oh, yeah. Sorry, this is something that I usually shout out when I'm going through this, but it does say not production ready here and that this is an alpha preview. That only refers to the UI that we have wrapped around it. So as you saw, a couple of times we were like, oh yeah, this is a new thing that has been added. Once those things are stable, then this will be released as production ready. But the Postgres functions themselves, the functions that sit underneath them, they're completely production ready. So once we've used the UI to add it to the database and actually create that trigger or that function, that part is entirely production ready. It's just saying basically we might change some things around in the UI for the dashboard. But you can always circumvent that anyway by using the SQL editor. So if you're comfortable with SQL, you can always just jump in here and do anything that you want. Does that answer your question?
I've thought of a way we can solve all of our problems. And that is, we should have just used another Postgres function. We could have done it even simpler. We didn't have to set up a trigger, just have a function called create room, and it does it for you. And then it's a security definer. It creates the room. It creates a room participant for you, and then returns that new room for you. So it's all kind of wrapped up into one.
Let's do that at the start of the next video, because then we can show off RPC as well, which is another way
that's going to be awesome.
So you can invoke functions from the Supabase JS library. So how we can call a Postgres function from the front end. yeah, that would be an awesome thing to go through. So we will do.
So
that.
yeah, join us next week. We'll be doing that straight away.
Yeah. And Inna says you also fix the scrolling. Good point. So we do need to deploy the updates, because otherwise people are going to have to do that awful scrolling up and down, which is infuriating. Next feature for monetization: max rooms per user, no rooms per user. Yeah, maybe we could actually. Well, we'll see how we go, but maybe it's like a fun. Well, I mean, this is the happy hour stream, so we can just do fun things. Maybe we should integrate, or see what it would take to integrate Stripe and make this like a SaaS platform.
You got a pay per message.
Or maybe I could submit a PR and like copy and paste my Google Ads code.
Yeah. And so yeah. Okay, great. So the functions are ready. Awesome, because we are using Supabase on a production ready app. Yeah. So Postgres functions completely stable. Postgres triggers completely stable. Yeah, just the UI that exists around it. Cool. Just to prove it to everyone, I will quickly.
Awesome. Finishes off.
Great.
Our changes, and we'll say. Add auto scroll. That very important commit message across those 3 pages, and then we can push those up. And yeah, we are going to be doing this every week. So I recommend that you head on over to YouTube/C/Supabase, and check out, if you subscribe and click the little alert thing,
Bell icon, isn't it?
The bell icon, then you will know when we're going live. I think we're going to just at this point be going live at the same time every week. So come join us at 3 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time and other times in every other time zone. And we'll be doing this. Also, come give us a follow on Twitter. I should just have these ready to go so I can do this little ad at the end. Go follow us on Twitter. Click through to our Discord, and join our Discord to chat with people about the cool stuff that you're building. And there's also some very keen, very helpful people there who can help you out anytime you get stuck. And I think that's it. You could also head over to twitch.tv if you prefer Twitch, and head over to /Supabase_TV. And you could also subscribe to us there and watch us.
Yeah, if you prefer Twitch.
Right now. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
We're like a second behind. That's awesome. All right. I think that's it from us. Anything else from you two?
Not from me.
Yeah.
See you all
Excellent.
next week. Yeah,
Thank you
I
for
guess
joining us.
soon we'll
for
be
Happy
starting
Hour.
Flutter development.
Oh yeah.
Development, right?
Next week we'll probably be finishing
Yeah, I
all
think
the Next.js stuff,
yeah, I don't
and
think
then
we'll quite.
the week after that, Tyler is going to blow my mind and John's mind with some Flutter stuff.
Absolutely,
with the same app. So it's going to be great.
Yeah, this is going to be very cool. So yeah, that's where this whole multi-platform part comes in. We've just been focusing on building out our chat app in Next.js. But yes, once we're finished with that and we're happy with the structure of our database and everything, we're going to show you how you can tie a second platform into that. So how you could build a Flutter app that uses the same Supabase backend without making any changes or making very minimal changes. Yeah, awesome. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekends, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye. I gotta go play this video again. All right, bye. Thank you.